My name is Kai Brooks. I am 18 years old, and 6 months ago, I made a phone call that destroyed my family and saved children I will never meet. People ask me how I live with what I did, how I can wake up every morning knowing I am the reason my father is in federal prison serving 25 years, how I can live with being the person who tore apart everything I thought I knew about my life. The answer is simple. I saw their faces. In those images on my father's computer, I saw the faces of children who were being hurt, and I could not unsee them. I could not pretend I had not found what I found. I could not choose my father over them. But let me start at the beginning. Let me tell you about the moment everything changed, about the ordinary Tuesday afternoon when I stopped being a kid and became someone I never wanted to be, about the weight of knowing something you can never unknow. Before I tell you about that day, I need to tell you about my father, about who he was to me, about the person I thought he was before I learned the truth. Troy Brooks was the kind of dad everyone wanted. He coached Little League every summer. He volunteered at the elementary school library every Thursday afternoon. He chaperoned field trips and school dances. Parents trusted him. Kids loved him. Teachers called him a role model. At home, he was the dad who helped with homework, who taught me to throw a baseball, who took me camping and fishing, who sat with me when I was sick and told me terrible jokes to make me laugh, who showed up to every single one of my basketball games, even the away games 2 hours from home. He taught 8th grade English at Madison Middle School, had been teaching there for 15 years. Students would come back years later to tell him he was their favorite teacher, that he made them love reading, that he changed their lives. He had a sign on his classroom door that said, "In this room, we are kind, we are safe, we are heard." Students who struggled at home would eat lunch in his classroom. He kept granola bars and juice boxes in his desk for kids who came to school hungry. He stayed late to tutor students who were falling behind. My mom used to joke that he loved his students almost as much as he loved his own kids, that he had this gift for connecting with young people, for making them feel valued and important. I was proud to be his son, proud when people said I looked like him, proud when they said I had his kindness and his patience. I wanted to be like him when I grew up, wanted to be the kind of person who made a difference in people's lives. That was the man I knew. That was my father. And then I found the folder on his computer, and I learned that everything I thought I knew about him was a lie. It was March 15th. I remember the date because it was exactly 1 week after my 18th birthday. A week after my family took me out for dinner at my favorite restaurant. A week after Dad gave me a card that said, "To my son on becoming a man, I am so proud of the person you have become." I had just gotten home from school, junior year of high school, spring semester almost over. I was taking AP American History, and we had a major research paper due in 3 days. Topic: the Watergate scandal and its impact on public trust in government. I had been working on this paper for 2 weeks, had pages of notes, and a detailed outline, and a rough draft that was almost finished, all saved on my laptop. That morning, my laptop had crashed. Completely dead. Blue screen of death. I tried everything I knew to fix it. Forced restart. Safe mode. Nothing worked. The hard drive had failed. I needed to finish my paper. Needed to access my research and my draft. The due date was not going to change because my laptop died. So I did what I had done dozens of times before. I went into Dad's home office and borrowed his laptop. He had told me years ago that I could use it for schoolwork if I needed to. Gave me the password. Said to just be careful not to delete anything important. Dad was at work. He taught until 3:30, then usually stayed late for tutoring or grading. He would not be home until 5 at the earliest. Mom was out running errands. My little sister Mia was at soccer practice until 5:30. I had the house to myself and plenty of time to work on my paper. I grabbed Dad's laptop from his office, brought it to the kitchen table where I usually did my homework, opened it and typed in the password. Troy Brooks, 1974. His name and birth year, the same password he had been using for years. The laptop opened to his desktop. Standard background photo of our family from last Christmas. Icons for various programs. Nothing unusual. I clicked on Chrome to access my Google Drive where my paper was saved. But Chrome would not open. It kept freezing. Spinning wheel of death. I waited. Tried again. Same problem. I tried Safari instead. Same issue. The browsers were not working. Something was wrong with the internet connection or the browser settings or something. I sighed. Frustrated. I did not have time for technical problems. I had a paper due in 3 days and I needed to work on it. I went into the system settings to troubleshoot. Maybe I could reset the browser, clear the cache, fix whatever was causing the problem. That was when I saw it. In the recently accessed files list, a folder name that made me pause. Personal, private, do not open. I stared at that folder name. Such a weird thing to label a folder. Who labels their files, do not open? It was like putting a sign on a door that says, nothing interesting in here. Do not bother looking. I should not have clicked on it. I know that now. I knew it then. It was clearly marked as private. It was Dad's personal computer, his private files. I had no business looking at things he had deliberately labeled as off-limits. But I was 18. I was curious, and something about that label bothered me. Not in a, oh, that is suspicious way. More in a, that is such a weird way to label a folder way. I told myself I would just take a quick look, see what was so private that it needed that kind of label. Probably financial documents, or maybe medical records, or maybe he was planning a surprise for Mom's birthday next month and did not want us to accidentally see it. Something boring and innocent. Something that would make me feel stupid for being curious. So I clicked it. One single click. That is all it took to change my entire life. The folder opened. Inside were more folders. Lots of them. Maybe 20 or 30. All labeled with codes. Letters and numbers that meant nothing to me. AG_7_12 and BV_10_14. And strings of characters that looked random. I clicked on one at random. Folder AG_7_12. Just to see what the code meant. Just out of curiosity. The folder opened, and my screen filled with thumbnail images. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Tiny pictures arranged in a grid. For about 3 seconds, my brain could not process what I was seeing. The images were too small to make out clearly. They looked strange, distorted somehow, like something was wrong with the file format. I clicked on one image to make it larger, to see what it was. The image filled my screen, and my brain finally caught up with what my eyes were seeing. A child, a young child, maybe 7 or 8 years old, wearing nothing, being hurt. I slammed the laptop shut so hard I heard something crack. Maybe the screen, maybe the hinge. I did not care. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. My stomach was turning over and over. The room was spinning. That could not be what I thought it was. There had to be an explanation. Maybe it was research for a school project about online safety. Maybe he was documenting evidence for law enforcement. Maybe someone had sent it to him, and he was about to report it. I opened the laptop again, slowly, hands trembling so badly I could barely control the mouse. I went back to the main folder, looked at the other folders, clicked on another one. Different code, BV_10_14. More images, different children, same horrible content. Children who should have been playing and laughing and being kids, instead captured in these awful images that no one should ever have to see. I closed that folder, opened another, and another, and another. Every single one. The same. Hundreds of images in each folder. Thousands of images total. This was not research. This was not evidence he was planning to report. This was a collection. I checked the file properties, tried to understand when these had been created, when they had last been accessed. The main folder had been created 3 years ago. It had been accessed yesterday. There were over 10,000 files inside, organized into subfolders by age ranges, by gender, by type of content. My father had not stumbled across these images by accident. He had not been hacked. This was not a virus. This was deliberate, intentional, organized. This was who my father really was. I ran to the bathroom and threw up, emptied my stomach into the toilet, heaved until there was nothing left, then dry heaved some more, sat on the cold tile floor with my forehead pressed against the toilet bowl, and tried to understand what I had just discovered. My father, the man who taught me right from wrong, the man who volunteered with children, the man everyone trusted. That man had thousands upon thousands of images of children being abused on his computer. I thought about all the times he volunteered at the elementary school, all the students who ate lunch in his classroom, all the camping trips and field trips and school events. Was he looking at those children that way? Was he thinking about them when he looked at these images? I thought about Mia, my 10-year-old sister. She adored Dad, followed him around like a puppy. Was she safe? Had he ever hurt her? Had he ever looked at her the way he looked at the children in those images? I felt sick again, stumbled back to the toilet. Nothing left to throw up, but my body kept trying. After I do not know how long, I managed to stand up, washed my face with cold water, looked at myself in the mirror. I looked the same as I had that morning. Same dark hair that was too long and needed a cut. Same brown eyes. Same face I had seen every single day for 18 years. But I was different now, fundamentally changed, because I knew something I could never unknow. I had seen something I could never unsee, and I had to decide what to do about it. I went back to the office, forced myself to sit down at the desk, forced myself to open the laptop again, even though every cell in my body wanted to run away and never look at it again. I needed to understand the full scope of what I had found, needed to gather information even though it made me sick, because if I was going to make a decision about this, I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I went through the folders more carefully this time, tried not to look at the actual images, just looked at the file names, the dates, the organization system. Some of the images had metadata, location tags that had not been scrubbed, dates going back years, file names that suggested they had been downloaded from specific websites or shared through specific networks. I found chat logs, conversations between my father and other people, usernames I did not recognize, discussions about images, about trading, about preferences. My father was not just collecting these images. He was part of a community, a network of people who did this, who shared and traded and discussed, who encouraged each other. And then I saw the folder that made my blood run completely cold, a subfolder buried in one of the main folders, labeled local. I did not want to open it. Everything in me screamed to close the laptop and walk away, but I had to know, had to understand the full extent of what was happening. I clicked. The folder opened. More images. But these were different from the others. These were not professional photographs downloaded from the internet. These were amateur, taken with a regular camera or phone, taken locally based on the backgrounds I could see, local parks, local schools, familiar locations, and I recognized some of the children, not all of them, but some, faces I had seen around town, at the grocery store, at the library, kids who went to Mia's elementary school, children of people Dad knew, maybe children of people I knew. One image in particular made me freeze. A girl who I had seen at Mia's soccer games. maybe 7 or 8 years old, blonde hair and pigtails. In the picture, she was at a public pool, wearing a swimsuit, playing on the splash pad. The photo was zoomed in, cropped, focused on her body in a way that made my skin crawl. It was not an overtly illegal image on its own, just a child at a pool, but the way it was taken, the way it was cropped, the way it was included in this collection alongside thousands of images of children being actively abused. This was not an innocent photo. This was predatory. My father had either taken this picture himself or someone had taken it and sent it to him. Either way, he had it. He had looked at it. He had saved it in his collection. And that little girl had no idea. Her parents had no idea that she was swimming and playing and having fun while someone was taking pictures of her. Pictures that ended up in a folder on my father's computer. I checked the timestamp on the local folder. Last week. He had added to this folder last week. This was not some old thing from years ago that he had forgotten about. This was active, ongoing, current, which meant children were at risk right now. Maybe children in our town. Maybe children he had access to through his teaching or his volunteering. Maybe children I knew. I sat there in that office for a long time. I do not know how long. Minutes. Hours. Time stopped having meaning. My whole world had narrowed down to one question that kept repeating in my mind over and over. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I thought about just closing the laptop and walking away, pretending I had never seen any of this. Dad would come home at 5, like always. I would say his computer was not working right, so I used Mom's instead. Life would continue as normal, except it would not be normal. It could never be normal again, because I would know. Every time I looked at my father, I would see those images. Every time he hugged Mia, I would wonder if she was safe. Every time he volunteered at a school event, I would be terrified of what he might be doing. I would spend the rest of my life knowing that my father was a predator, that he had thousands of images of children being hurt, that he was part of a network that shared and traded, that he might hurt someone if I stayed quiet. Could I live with that? Could I wake up every morning and look at myself in the mirror knowing I had the power to stop him and chose not to? But the alternative was destroying my family, sending my father to prison, making my mother a single parent, traumatizing Mia, becoming the person who tore our entire life apart. How do you make that choice? How does an 18-year-old decide whether to protect his family or protect strangers? I thought about telling Mom, about showing her what I found and letting her make the decision. But what would she do? Would she believe me? Would she look at the evidence? Or would she refuse to see it? I had heard stories about this, about spouses who found out their partners were predators and chose to stay, chose to cover it up, chose to protect the family reputation over protecting victims. Would Mom be one of those people? And if I told her first, what if she warned Dad? What if she gave him time to delete everything? Then the evidence would be gone, and he would be free to continue, and it would be my fault for not acting when I had the chance. I thought about confronting Dad directly, about sitting him down when he got home and telling him I knew, demanding that he turn himself in or get help or stop. But I already knew how that would go. He would deny it, say I misunderstood, say it was research or planted by a hacker or something innocent. And then as soon as I left the room, he would delete everything. The evidence would disappear, and he would be more careful next time. No, if I was going to do something, I had to do it right. Had to make sure the evidence was preserved. Had to make sure that professionals handled this and investigated properly, which meant I had to call the police. Had to officially report what I found. Had to be willing to testify about what I saw and how I found it. Had to be willing to destroy my father's life, my family's life, my own life. I sat at that desk and stared at my phone for I do not know how long. Picked it up, put it down, picked it up again. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. I kept thinking about those faces. The children in the images. They were real people, real kids who had been hurt, who had been exploited, who had those awful moments of their lives captured and shared with strangers like my father. They had families. They had parents who loved them and were supposed to protect them. They had lives that were destroyed by the people who hurt them and the people who looked at the images. And I was sitting here with evidence. Evidence that could potentially help law enforcement track down predators. Evidence that could help identify victims. Evidence that could save children from being hurt in the future. If I stayed quiet, I was choosing to let it continue. Choosing my father over those children. Choosing comfort over justice. I thought about what Dad had taught me when I was growing up. About standing up for what is right even when it is hard. About protecting people who cannot protect themselves. About being brave when it matters most. He taught me those things, and now I had to use those lessons to destroy him. The irony was not lost on me. I thought about what kind of person I wanted to be. Not in theory, not in some imaginary scenario, but right now, in this moment, when it actually mattered. Did I want to be the kind of person who looks away when children are being hurt? Who protects predators because they happen to be related to me? Who chooses family loyalty over doing what is right? Or did I want to be the kind of person who stands up even when it costs everything? Who protects the vulnerable even when the predator is someone I love? Who does the right thing even when it destroys my life? I picked up my phone, opened Google, typed with shaking hands, "How to report child abuse images." The search results appeared. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Cyber Tip Line for Anonymous Reporting. FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center. Resources for reporting exactly this type of crime. I could report it anonymously. File a tip. Let them investigate without connecting my name to it. Never tell anyone it was me who called. But anonymous tips often get ignored. Get put at the bottom of a pile of reports. Might take weeks or months before anyone looked at it. And by then Dad might realize someone had been on his computer, might delete everything, might get away with it. If I wanted this to be taken seriously, I had to put my name on it, had to be willing to stand behind my report, had to be willing to testify, had to be willing to lose everything. I looked at the clock. 3:45. Dad would be home in about an hour and 15 minutes. If I was going to do this, I had to do it now. I dialed 911, put the phone to my ear, listened to it ring once, twice, 3 times. This was it. This was the moment. Once I said the words, there was no taking them back. No undoing what I was about to set in motion. The dispatcher answered. 911, what is your emergency? I opened my mouth. For a second, no sound came out. Then I forced the words. I need to report a crime. I found child sexual abuse material on my father's computer. Thousands of images, some of local children. My name is Kai Brooks. I am at 2847 Maple Street. I am 18 years old, and I am willing to make a statement and testify if necessary. There was a brief pause. Then the dispatcher's voice, suddenly very focused. Are you safe right now? Is anyone else in the house? I am alone. My father is at work. He will be home around 5. Okay, I am dispatching officers to your location right now. Do not touch the computer again. Do not access any more files. Just stay where you are, and officers will be there within 10 minutes. Can you do that for me? Yes. You did the right thing calling us, Kai. That took a lot of courage. Officers are on their way. She stayed on the line with me, kept talking, asking questions about whether I was okay, whether I felt safe, whether I needed anything. I answered mechanically. My brain felt numb, detached, like this was happening to someone else, and I was just watching it happen. I heard sirens in the distance, getting closer, louder, then pulling up in front of our house. Car doors slamming. Heavy footsteps on the front porch. Knock on the door. I let them in. 2 uniformed officers and a detective in plain clothes. They showed me their badges. Asked if I was Kai Brooks. Asked if I was the one who made the call. I nodded. Could not seem to form words anymore. The detective was a woman in her 40s. Graying hair pulled back in a bun. Kind eyes, but serious expression. She introduced herself as Detective Rachel Chun. Kai, I need you to tell me exactly what you found and how you found it. Take your time. Start from the beginning. So I told her about my laptop crashing, about borrowing Dad's computer, about clicking on the folder, about what I saw inside. She asked questions, specific questions. How many images did I see? What were they of? Were there any videos? Any chat logs? Any indication of contact with children? I answered as best I could. Told her about the organization system, the local folder, the images of children I recognized, the chat logs about trading. She nodded, took notes, called for backup. More officers arrived. Specialists from the Computer Crimes Division, FBI agents who handled these types of cases. Our house filled with people in uniforms and badges. They secured Dad's office, put up crime scene tape. No one was allowed in or out. They would need a search warrant to seize the computer and search the rest of the house, but they could secure the scene while they worked on getting it. Detective Chun sat with me in the living room, asked more questions, gentle but thorough. She explained what would happen next. We will get a warrant within the hour. We will seize all computers and electronic devices in the house. Our forensics team will go through everything. Every file, every image, every chat log. This will take time. Weeks, maybe months. Eventually there will be charges. Federal charges for possession and distribution of child sexual abuse material. Possibly other charges, depending on what we find. What about my family? I asked. My voice sounded hollow, distant. My mom and sister will be home soon. We will have officers here to explain the situation when they arrive. A social worker will talk to your sister. We will need to interview everyone in the household. I know this is incredibly difficult, Kai, but you did the right thing. You potentially saved children today. You need to understand that. I could not process that. Could not think about saving anyone. Could only think about what I had just done. About the bomb I had just dropped on my family. The warrant came through by 4:30. A judge had signed it. They could now search the entire house. Seize any devices that could contain evidence. They moved through our home like a well-practiced team. Dad's office first. His laptop, desktop computer, external hard drives. Then the family computer in the living room. Mom's laptop. Even my broken laptop. Just to rule it out. They bagged and tagged everything. Took photos. Documented the scene. Professional and efficient, but also respectful. They knew this was our home. Our lives. That this was traumatic, even though it was necessary. Mom got home at 5. Walked in to find our house full of police officers and FBI agents. Her face went white. She dropped the grocery bags she was carrying. Oranges rolled across the floor. What is going on? Where is Kai? Is everyone okay? Detective Chun intercepted her. Mrs. Brooks, I am Detective Rachel Chun. Your son is safe. Everyone is safe. But we need to speak with you about a serious matter concerning your husband. Mom looked past her, saw me sitting on the couch with a blanket wrapped around me, even though I was not cold, just shaking. Our eyes met. Kai, what is happening? It is Dad, I said. My voice cracked. Mom, Dad has been doing something really bad. I found evidence on his computer. I had to call the police. Evidence of what? What are you talking about? Detective Chun explained. Used clinical terms. Professional language. Child sexual abuse material. Thousands of images. Organized collection. Evidence of trading and sharing with networks of other offenders. Mom, sat down hard on the chair across from me. All the color drained from her face. Her hands were shaking. No, that is impossible. Not Troy. He would never. There has to be a mistake. Kai, tell me there is a mistake. I saw it, Mom. I saw the folders. The images. Thousands of them. It was organized. Created over years. Accessed as recently as yesterday. It was not a mistake. You must have misunderstood. Maybe it was research for school. Maybe someone hacked his computer. Maybe. Mom. I looked at her. It was not a hack. The folders were organized by age and gender. There were chat logs with other people discussing images. There were pictures of local children. Children we know. It was not a mistake or a hack. It was him. She stared at me. I watched the denial crumble. Watched reality crash into her. Watched her entire understanding of her husband, her marriage, her life shatter into pieces. Oh my God. Her voice was barely a whisper. Oh my God. A social worker arrived to talk to Mia when she got home from soccer practice. They pulled her into the dining room, asked her gentle questions about whether Dad had ever touched her inappropriately, whether he had ever made her uncomfortable, whether she had ever seen him take pictures of her or her friends. I could hear Mia getting upset, confused, asking what was happening, why the police were here, what Dad had done. The social worker was patient, kind, explained that they were just making sure everyone was safe, that it was important to ask these questions. Mia swore that Dad had never hurt her, never touched her, never made her feel unsafe. She kept asking what was happening. No one would give her a straight answer. She was 10 years old and terrified and confused. Eventually, Mom pulled her close, held her while she cried. It is going to be okay, baby. Everything is going to be okay. But it was not going to be okay. Nothing was ever going to be okay again. Dad pulled into the driveway at 5:15, right on schedule. I watched from the living room window as he got out of his car. Saw him notice the police cars and FBI vehicles parked on the street. Saw him see the crime scene tape across his office window. His face went pale. He looked at the house. Our eyes met through the window, and I saw it. Recognition. Understanding. He knew what they had found. He knew it was over. He turned and ran. Actually turned around and tried to get back in his car. Tried to flee. But officers were already moving. They had been waiting for him, ready for the possibility that he would run. They surrounded his car before he could start it, pulled him out, put him on the ground, handcuffed him. I watched them read him his rights, watched them search him, watched them put him in the back of a police car. He looked up at the house one more time, looked at me through the window, just for a second. The look on his face was not shock, not confusion, not the outrage of an innocent man being falsely accused. It was resignation, defeat. He knew what I had found, and he knew his life was over, and he knew I was the one who called. They searched our house for 6 hours, went through every room, every closet, every drawer, looking for additional evidence, additional devices, anything that could be relevant to the case. They found more devices we did not even know about, a tablet hidden in the garage, USB drives taped to the back of furniture, a second laptop hidden in the attic. Dad had been hiding evidence throughout the house. Backup copies, archives, all of it encrypted and password protected, all of it containing the same horrible content. Detective Chun explained that this was common with these types of offenders. They were collectors, hoarders. They kept everything and made multiple copies because they were terrified of losing their collections. The thought made me sick. That Dad valued those images so much, that he had gone to such lengths to preserve them, that he had spent years building and maintaining this collection while living a double life. They finally finished the search around 11 that night, took everything with them. left us with receipts for every item seized, told us the forensics analysis would take weeks or months. A victim advocate stayed with us, a woman named Sarah who specialized in families of offenders. She explained what would happen next. Dad would be held in federal custody pending charges. Bail would likely be denied. We would need lawyers. We would need therapy. We would need support. She gave us resources, phone numbers, support groups, names of therapists who specialized in trauma. She left around midnight. Finally, it was just us, Mom and Mia and me, alone in our house that no longer felt like home, surrounded by the evidence of the search. Empty spaces where computers used to be, crime scene tape still across Dad's office door. None of us knew what to say. How do you process something like this? How do you begin to understand that the person you loved and trusted was a monster? Mia fell asleep on the couch around 1 a.m, exhausted from crying. Mom carried her to bed. I sat in the living room, stared at nothing, tried to process what I had done, what I had set in motion. Mom came back downstairs around 2, sat across from me. We did not speak for a long time, just sat in the dark living room in silence. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was quiet, strained. I do not know if I can forgive you for this. The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. Mom, you destroyed our family. You tore apart our entire life. Everything we built, everything we have, gone, because you called the police instead of coming to me first. Mom, he had pictures of children being hurt, thousands of them. I could not just ignore that. He is your father. You are supposed to protect family, not destroy it. Her voice broke. Do you have any idea what you have done? What happens to us now? I am married to a criminal. Everyone in town will know. I will lose my job. We will lose our house. Mia will be traumatized for life. And it is all because you could not just talk to me first. What would you have done if I came to you first? I asked. Would you have called the police? Or would you have told me to keep quiet, to protect the family? She looked away, did not answer. That is what I thought. I said quietly. I could not risk that you would cover it up, that you would give him time to delete the evidence. Children are being hurt, Mom. Children we might know. I could not let that continue just to protect our reputation. You chose strangers over your own family. I chose innocent children over a predator, even if that predator is my father. She stood up, looked at me with something like hatred in her eyes. I do not know who you are anymore. You are not the son I raised. The son I raised would have protected his family. She walked away, went to her room, closed the door, left me sitting alone in the dark, wondering if I had made the right choice or the worst mistake of my life. The next few days were absolute hell. The news got out. Small town. Word travels fast. Local teacher arrested on child pornography charges. FBI raid. Thousands of images seized. Trading with known predators. The story was everywhere. Local news, regional news, national news picked it up. Teacher in small town arrested for massive collection of child abuse materials. Parents in shock. School district scrambling to respond. Reporters showed up at our house. Cameras on our lawn. Vans parked across the street. They knocked on the door constantly. Shouted questions when we tried to leave. Did you know? How long was it going on? Are there local victims? We stopped answering the door. Stopped going outside. Became prisoners in our own home. School was worse. I tried to go back that Thursday. Thought maybe keeping up with normal routine would help. That was a mistake. Everyone knew. Everyone was staring, whispering. Some people avoided me entirely. Others came up to me with questions. Is it true? Is your dad really a pedophile? Did you know? Some people treated me like a hero. Said I was brave for turning in my own father. Said I did the right thing. Others treated me like a traitor. How could you do that to your own family? Family is supposed to stick together no matter what. You should have handled it privately. You destroyed your father's life over some pictures. I lasted until lunch. Then I went to the bathroom and had a panic attack. Could not breathe. Could not stop shaking. The school counselor found me and called Mom to come get me. I did not go back to school after that. Could not face it. My teachers were understanding. Sent work home. Said I could finish the semester remotely. A week after the arrest, Detective Chun called. Asked me to come down to the station. They needed to show me something. Ask me some questions. I drove downtown with Mom. We did not speak during the drive. Had barely spoken since that first night. The silence between us was thick and toxic. At the station, Detective Chun took us to a small conference room. 2 FBI agents were there. Agent Torres and Agent Kim. They looked serious. Grim. Kai, Mrs. Brooks, thank you for coming in. I know this has been an incredibly difficult week for you, but we need to ask some questions about Troy's access to children, his job,